My name is Marcell Hanson, and you're listening to Small Habits, Big Changes. Let's dive in. Welcome. Today we have a special guest with us. As promised, in the house is Tania Ho. She runs the Museflower Retreat and Spa in Thailand. And she's going to share a number of different ways that you can really get locked in and feel as though you're enjoying meditation, self-care. Without spoiling too much, let's get into it. She'll introduce herself, and I hope that you are ready to take notes. If you forgot your pen or pencil, we have it in the show notes here. Definitely check them out. We have some sick resources that will definitely get you on the right track to tasting and trying the buffet of the myriad of different modalities that you could engage in to help you live a healthier and happier life. Without further ado, let's get into it. Welcome. Tell us a little bit about your background and how you got into what you're doing today.
Thank you. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here. So my name is Tania. I'm actually originally from Hong Kong, but now I run a retreat center here in Chiang Rai, Thailand. So it's the northern part of Thailand. It's called Museflower Retreat and Spa. So what we do here, our retreat center offers yoga retreat, meditation retreats, and also spa holidays. And it's really for, busy people to come to have this quiet, peaceful space to kind of just slow down and reconnect with nature, reconnect with themselves. So that's what we do here. We've been here for 10 years already. And so I'm the owner here at the Museflower Retreat Spa, and I also teach some meditation classes here as well.
Fantastic. Now, when I was doing a little bit of research, background information on you, there's something particular that kind of sets you apart from a lot of people, actually, that not only guests that we've had on, but people that I've researched that run retreats and spas. Something that you add a little extra into your recipe is fun. So what I saw about meditation and fun and making it more fun for people, how'd this come about? I'm sure you got a story about it, but and how do you implement fun into something that seems a little, I don't know, dry? Maybe?
Yeah, totally. I get what you mean. So, when I first started meditation or like joined meditation classes, it's also like the same. You've seen images of people meditating, their holy mudra, they look very calm. And that's kind of like the expectation. Like when you go in like, okay, that's what I expect to do. And when you go inside and then it's like counting your breath and it's like, okay, I'm like starting to fall asleep, can't really concentrate. So that's what you mean. Like, I know it's just a lot of people, or me even, I find that very boring. It's just very hard to stay in meditation. So maybe we try one time and then we give it up. And then later on, as I joined different kind of classes, not meditation classes, usually they're like workshops, but they have meditation incorporated in the class. And I realized, there's actually so many different styles of meditation. So there's different many techniques. It's just like cooking, there's like different kind of cooking techniques, a different kind of cuisine out there. And so there's like meditation, just a variety of different styles. And so I realized once you find a style that really matches with something called your dominant sense. So, maybe if we look at meditation through the different senses, maybe this is meditation that focuses more on the sense of sight. This is meditation focused more on the sense of sound. And then you can find a style that really matches with you. And then it's like, it's fun. It's kind of like working out as well. Like maybe the gym's not for everybody. Some people like yoga, some people like Pilates, some people like row running. So there's like kind of different styles. So if you can find a style that really matches with like your learning style as well, then it can be fun. It can be something fun.
I had never really thought about that, your dominant sense. So you're saying like some people might be more tactile and they may need to actually touch something or rub beads or something, count beads kind of thing, as opposed to for somebody who's not tactile, that wouldn't work for them.
Yeah. So it's like, we all have, it's like the learning styles. There's actually like, 7 different learning styles. So like you said, some people are really visual learners. So like they love guided meditation. It's very easy for them to go into guided meditation. Some people are not really visual. So that may not work as well. It doesn't mean it doesn't work, but it may not work as well. So like you said, some people, they feel like they can't sit still. So there's actually meditations more movement based. So you can go to the kind of like they call dynamic meditation, like walking meditation, or you can even do like dance. And then afterwards, then you have that quiet moment, or like, even working out, after working out. After that, when you're really tired, you just rest. Or like in yoga, at the end, usually they have a pose called Shavasana. That's where you lie down. And that's where you can do, a short meditation afterwards.
Yeah, I was just saying to our last guest how serendipitous it was that this is the rotation that came up because about 3 weeks ago, I think we had an episode with K2, a young fellow that's in Colorado Springs, runs a salt cave and deprivation, chamber and retreat center as well. And he really is focused on TM, transcendental meditation. And that's what really worked for him. And so then he became an instructor, and he and his wife actually both instruct in that classes and teach classes. And then last week we had Lizzie Brown on, who is the developer, co-founder of the app Yoga Wake Up. And she does a different kind of meditation. It's more guided. And in the app, they actually have guided meditations for both waking up as well as going to sleep. I love what you mentioned, because I've always thought there's lots of different ways to meditate, but I know the way that works for me, which has always been a walking meditation. And I never tell anyone that, because people are like, that, those are like contradicting things. And I'm like, to me, they're not. Like, everything kind of works in the movement of my body. And so the pace that I go, I'm a very tall person, but I walk relatively slow for as tall as I am. And people are always going, like, what are you doing? I'm like, actually, I'm like in a meditative state. Like, moving is my meditation in many, many ways. So that dominant sense, that learning style that you mentioned. So I'm curious, in the retreat center that you run, the Museflower Retreat and Spa, if everybody has their own way, their own style and a way that fits them. And I love that, because we don't harp on it, but we try and drill in everyone is unique. If you just keep trying and you stay curious, you're going to find the way that works for you. But in your retreats, how do you match like more than one style? Like, how does that work?
The great thing as being adults, as we've grown, even though we have one dominant sense or one dominant maybe learning style, we also, our other senses all kind of develop. So we have a variety of different meditation classes. And I always tell people to, of course, if you already know what your style is, then you can choose like, okay, this is like, maybe I want to go for a more walking meditation. But it's always great to try out different styles, because, especially for beginners, you try different styles and you see which one kind of like you like more. And even if you have a dominant style, like that's the one that I really love, it's always good to kind of experience, because like I said, for example, like the breathing meditation, count your breath. I used to not be able to do it, like it's just very hard for me to focus. But as I do my daily meditation, I have my daily meditative practice, you'll find that the other styles of meditation, you'll start to become easier as well, because you're starting to kind of develop that muscle of like being awareness, right? So it's always great to experience different styles. So that's what we have. We have different styles of meditation. We have a meditation workshop here at Museflower also, where, we go through like just short, simple meditation for each sense. So you can kind of get experience meditation, focus on the sense of sight, focus on the sense of sound, focus on the sense of touch, and just try it out. Yeah.
A little sampler. I like that. It's true. I want to echo what you said. Like, I used to be very similar. Like, I could not sit still and, let clouds go by or count backwards from 300. There's just no way. At 286, I'm like standing up, like, okay, I'm on to something else. It wasn't that I didn't find value in it. It just didn't click with me. But when I started years ago, now I can do it. I usually do still fall asleep on the counting one. I'm going to be honest. Like, I don't get very far into it, but there's lots of other ones I do like. Anyone that incorporates like body movement, like Shavasana is like, dream for me, right? And to not fall asleep all the time has been a progression over years. And I think you're right. We do develop those senses, but knowing, like, I still try other things, and I find them fascinating that like, oh, wow, this works for me now. Like, it didn't work for me 20 years ago or even 15 years ago, but I try them again and they come back around. So tell us, how did you get started? Like, what got you into, you've been doing it 10 years. So what were you doing before that, or what made this shift for you?
Right. So actually my background is in hotel management, and my focus was actually in spa. So I've already been interested in like combine, like natural health, wellness. So spa was something that I was really interested. And so I came to Thailand to work for a few years. And then my dad actually passed away. So my dad had depression. And that kind of was like this big changing point in my life, because it was then was like, okay, well, life is kind of too short to do things that you don't want to. It's like, I don't know what I want to do. I know what I don't want. And that's when also I went for my first ever retreat here at the same, town in Chiang Rai. And for me, it was like, wow, a retreat experience is so powerful, so transformative. It's like a spa experience, but you take it to a next level. And that was, my own healing journey from my own grief of my dad passing away. And then I have this opportunity because I was like, I don't know what I want to do. Well, I know what I don't want to do in my life, but I don't know what I want to do. And there was just kind of this journey that brought me. I had this opportunity to open this retreat center here in Chiang Rai again. And that's what kind of like, that's 12 years ago when we started to build the place. And yeah, that's how kind of like that whole long story short journey.
Yeah, it's interesting that just one profound thing can make such a trickle effect and change your whole life, obviously. What was it, do you think, about that first retreat? What is it about retreats in general that really, you're kind of taken out of your everyday and plunked into something in a new location with new people around you? But what is it that you think in your experience or that you witness really makes a difference in like taking yourself out of that normal routine that you're in?
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of, first of all, there's like this aspect like when people love go traveling, when you're completely out of your daily life routine, you're more open to experience new things, to have new perspectives on things. So, for example, our retreat here is we offer like my first ever retreat experience was a vegetarian food retreat. And so personally, I'm not a vegetarian, but it was like, but that retreat experience showed me, wow, like just vegetarian food can be so amazing. You know, that's something that I probably wouldn't do in my daily life if I were in my daily life situation. And it's also in daily life, we have so many automatic habits that we do. We don't even realize, and we're not so really conscious of what we're doing. So when we're completely out of that environment, you know, we can start to see like, you can start to break some kind of patterns and maybe start to reflect. We have the space, right? This time and space to reflect also, what is it I'm really feeling now? Because a lot of times we're just kind of like, we either like thinking of the future, what I'm going to do next, right? We're like always constantly like just moving ahead, planning, or we're kind of stuck in the past a little bit, right? We're like, oh, we're still thinking of whatever happened in the past. And then plus daily life, we had to work, we had to study, whatever, do many things. So we kind of just put all like the feelings, emotions, which is kind of like, let's just put it under the covers. We don't have time to deal with it, right? And then when you go to the retreat, now you have all this time to really to kind of stay with ourselves. That's what we're connecting with ourselves about, right? So we're not just in so much in the head space, but coming back down to the heart now and say, okay, what is it that I'm really feeling? And then allowing that feeling and the emotions to arise, because it takes time. Usually what I mean is at least takes, you know, when our guests come here, it takes a good 3 days to really just to wind down from, you know, like whatever they were going through, and to really just adjust to that rhythm, that like the new rhythm that's like here, the schedule here. And just to have that kind of, it's also kind of just being in nature in general, kind of like just really slows us down anyway. So yeah, so definitely I'll say a retreat, you know, when you're, or whatever that we do, we take ourselves out from our daily life experience. It's already something that is, you know, taking ourselves out of the comfort zone, and we just allow ourselves to be more open and to like, just to be open for new things, for new experiences.
Yeah, I love what you said about rhythms of nature. Like when you're out there, it is a different rhythm than most of us operate on in a city or even countryside. You're maybe a little closer to that slower pace of life and less distractions, maybe more nature, integrated. So are your retreats, they're not in the spa, they're out and about on location, or how does that work?
So our retreat center is located, so Chiang Rai, it's the city itself is pretty like a countryside city. But and then we're like half away from the town. So we are surrounded by nature here.
Okay.
Very much like there's nothing else around, and there's no nightlife here either. So, you know, like you sleep really early and then you wake up early. If people come here for like a yoga retreat, you know, the first yoga class starts at 7. And so it's just kind of wake up early and then sleep early kind of thing here. Yeah.
Sounds like heaven. I was thinking as you were saying that, a conversation that came up in just last week's episode about, I always find that I have a pretty structured in-home routine. You know, I go to bed at a certain time, I drink a certain amount of water, I eat home cooked meals. And for me, my freedom comes from that structure. Like all that's taken care of. I know that I can be my best out in the world and be centered and grounded and do whatever I need to do, knowing that structure sort of supports me in a sort of, I think of it as structure as freedom. Like if I create this structure, it's a safe domicile for me. It's kind of like my sanctuary that I come into, and that's where everything is copacetic. All the vibrations good, the frequency's good. And then I can deal with what's out in the real world. But when you say about going to a retreat, kind of a bit of that structure is lost, right? And so then the freedom becomes in being vulnerable. And I thought of it when you said that, I thought, oh, I don't know if this is going to drive people to go to retreats or stay away from retreats, because lots of people don't want to have feelings. They want to keep sweeping them under the rug and not check in. And this podcast is really about just giving people lots of options and support in making decisions that are working for them. Oftentimes that does mean coming out of any ruts. If you have healthy habits, it's one thing, but lots of times if you're hitting fast food or you're rushing from here to there, you don't have time to journal, or you're not making time to journal or check in or be grounded. Like retreats can be super powerful because they are pulling you from all this actually is negativity and sometimes even toxic, surroundings, and plunking you into like serenity in nature, where there's maybe just birds chirping in the morning or a rooster crowing or something really peaceful, and it almost like shakes you into a new space. But I think of that as a vulnerability, as like you're leaving this comfort of your structure, whether it's good for you or bad for you overall, what negative or positive. But retreats, I think that's what the power of them is. It really is. You're stepping into saying you want more, and here the retreat offers you something that you cannot get in your own home. You cannot get in your own city, the same as going out into a landscape that's like, the countryside, like you say, or has waterfalls or nature right there, just innate of the rhythm of the nature. You're leaving a space and going into a new space, so that you almost have to leave transformed. You almost have to leave with some gift of learning, right? If you're open to it, you're going to get something from it, right?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I love how you said, your podcast is about providing different options, and going a retreat is you learn different tools and you experience them. And then when you go back home, you can see which tool really works for me. And I'm going to incorporate that back into my daily life, that I can really feel and see the benefit. That's kind of really for me is, you get it like a big kind of jump start into finding something new. You have a routine that really works for you, and that's great. Like keep that. That's like your core thing. And then maybe you might learn different new things that you can incorporate into it. So it's just kind of like expanding the toolbox, really expanding the toolbox.
And so at the retreat center that you have, just a little logistics, like how often are you holding retreats there?
Right. So we actually have 2 retreats that we're open for all year round. So we have a yoga retreat that's like 3 nights, 5 nights, 7 nights, or we have a kind of more spa and wellness holiday. So it's also 3 nights, 5 nights, 7 nights. And people also just can come here like a normal hotel. You can also stay for like 1 night or 2 nights. So those like the yoga retreat program and the spa wellness holiday, it's like that program is always open. And then we do have some more special retreats that just like focus on certain dates. Like we have a cacao ceremony and Bhakti Yoga Retreat coming up in October. We have a called Sacred Rest with Nature Retreat coming up in November. So those are like our more specific theme retreats, and there's like more specific dates.
Okay. And now you've piqued my curiosity. What's the best time to travel to Thailand?
To come.
What are the best months?
The best month. So people really love
people
love to come here. So we're in the northern Thailand. So it's not beaches and ocean. We're more like mountain and lakes. So like that's like a different landscape. And so the best time to come here is actually winter time, like November, December, January, because it is actually cool here. So it's not like hot, it's cool and dry. Okay. And so it's like a really nice weather to come and visit during that time. Yeah.
It sounds so seductive to me. Like I hear what you're saying about like, trying different things and taking in what you've learned at the retreat, what's worked for you, and implementing it into, your daily routine. And and I've always done that. Like if I listen to a podcast and I'm like, that speaks to me, I'm going to try that for 3 weeks every day and see if it sticks or whatever. But the retreats I've gone to, very similarly, like I started meditating after one of the early retreats I went to. I started a different prayer technique. I've journaled. That all has come out of either going into a workshop, like an intense workshop, or a distant retreat. So I definitely I think that it's something I love to do as regularly as I can, because I do see such benefit. And I don't know anybody who's gone to a retreat and been like, that was a waste of time. It's like they usually are in beautiful scenery. You get to meet amazing people that obviously are kind of vibing at the same frequency. They have the same desire to like implement new things into their life. So they have kind of a growth mindset, not so much a fixed mindset. And so you get to meet people that you wouldn't normally meet as well. It's just so many things to going on retreat that resonate with me anyway. Tell us you mentioned a couple of the retreats that are special retreats coming up. Any on the horizon for next year or years to come, or something that you're kind of planning, scheming that you can share?
Oh, for next year. I haven't planned so far for next year yet. I still have these 2 retreats coming up. But we do like the Sacred Rest with Nature retreat that I do with my friend Yumin. She's from Singapore and she's a forest bathing and a facilitator and a rest coach. And that we already done one last year. We want to do that kind of every year. And this year is going to be a second year. So definitely that's going to be a yearly thing. We do it kind of like end of November and beginning December because it's kind of this time before the end of the year to really kind of like to rest, to recharge, but also so when we're rested, not just like physically, I don't know if you heard there's 7 types of rest. So, we really truly feel rested, then we can set this new intention. I know you talk about intention in your podcast as well. So to kind of set this new intention for the next year, coming from a place of clarity and authenticity. So that is a retreat that we do plan to do every year. And last year, the feedback was really great because, just really before all the crazy holiday season thing happening for Christmas and New Year, just kind of have this time for yourself to rest and just kind of like recharge and also kind of like having this clarity of going to the new year.
Yeah, I celebrate winter solstice more than any other holiday, but I always think of that time, November, December, is like a dormant time. It's kind of go within, and I do a lot of journaling and a lot of like thinking through like, okay, what do I want the next year to look like, the next 2 years, 5 years, what have you. You mentioned 7 different kinds of rest. Can you touch on any of the other kinds other than the one you just mentioned?
Yeah. So it's like it's physical, emotional, mental, spiritual, creative, social. I got 7 there. Yeah.
Social. Okay.
Social rest. So social rest, there's 2 different ways. There's 2 different types. So social rest can either be you want to, connect with your friends and be really nourished in that community. That's a social rest. But then the other way the social rest is I want to have this time for myself, like you said, the hibernation time, and kind of like let's just not take on so many social activities. So there's kind of 2 ways for the social rest.
Okay. And so physical rest was the first one. That makes sense. You're just resting your body in the evening or, but what about the next one? You said emotional, spiritual.
So there's emotional rest and mental rest. So like, for example, maybe sometimes our body is relaxed, but then our mind is just like, oh my God, like keep on going and going. Yeah. Right. So the mental is not resting. So the mental rest, like meditation, for example, is a great way to really rest mentally. Journaling as well, for example. Emotional rest is like we talked about, having this time to really feel through the emotions instead of sweeping them down. Mm-hmm. Journaling, of course, is another way to help us to, acknowledge the emotions that we have. And there's spiritual rest. So spiritual rest is it's kind of more open. What spiritual means for each person, to me, is just a connection to ourselves and connection to that something, the bigger presence that's all around you. So having that time to kind of connect with whatever that you feel is the bigger presence around you. So maybe through prayer, maybe it's through meditation, or different kind of practices, or just maybe a walk in nature. And there's also sensory rest. I forgot sensory rest. So that's what forest bathing it's about. It's a really kind of, because we're so much stimulated every day, look on our phone, like visually. So kind of having that sensory rest. And creative rest is just having this time to do something creative for yourself, something fun that doesn't need to purposely like serve any kind of purpose. Sometimes I feel like, we have to do things that like everything has to serve some kind of purpose, but just the creative rest is just doing something for fun, for creatively. And I think that's all the rest I got.
Yeah. So physical,
social, physical, emotional, mental, creative, spiritual, social, and sensory. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of kind of rest, almost like 1 for every day of the week. 7. Okay.
Yeah. You can think of that. Yeah. Usually we kind of have like all these kind of already sometimes, especially you have like, for example, you talk about you have your own spiritual practice already, and you probably would touch on a lot of them already. Yeah.
Yeah. I like that. Is that something that you took from somewhere else, or is it something you've developed? Where did you get that 7 types of
rest? I know. So it's from a book, and it's by, I think her name is Dr. Sonder, and she talked about sacred rest. So it's from a
About
book.
sacred rest.
I
Okay,
can,
well, we'll try and get that
yes.
information into the show notes because sometimes acronyms help, but sometimes when someone, it seems very simple to just remember to like have physical rest. I think we talk a lot about physical rest and like go to bed at 9 o'clock, like lay your body down so it can rejuvenate and repair from that day's, challenges, whether you were really active or not. And I think that most people have a concept of mental rest because it's like when their mind is so busy and they're working hard, they have lots of figures or actions or tasks, goals in their head, it needs a break, right? I think people understand that correlation with meditation. I think people are less maybe attuned to spiritual rest or even creative rest or sensory rest. I think these ones are kind of on the periphery of a lot of people's like awareness, and having even a list like on a wall somewhere that just is like a little mental checklist that you're like, oh my gosh, I haven't done anything creative in like since last summer, or something like that, where it can like, you can just put it on your refrigerator with a magnet, and it could be that simple to be like, okay, am I physically resting? Am I mentally resting? Am I spiritually resting? Am I creatively resting? Like just running through and checking, because there's people that can go years. They've never been to a retreat. They don't go to massage. They don't have acupuncture. They're not going for walks. And then years pass and they're like, whoa, what happened? And maybe it is a death in the family that spurs them into shifting lots of healthy habits too, because they're not checking in as much with the feelings, maybe trying to sweep those under the rug, like you said. And it can be something really little that can spark you to, start your own retreat center, or that can really knock you out of a good place, to where you're kind of missing. You're not taking as good of care of yourself. And sometimes just a simple checklist like those 7 types of rest and sacred rest. I love the sound of that. It seems like all of them are kind of sacred, but just having some little moniker, something that, that clues you, that reminds you to take a second to check in with yourself, right?
Yeah, definitely, definitely. And I think going to a retreat, the benefit is a lot of time, the retreat programs, I can't say for all retreats, but that I know of, like usually they do incorporate all these kind of rest already a lot of times. It's just that they're not categorized.
That's
But
right.
the retreat that we're doing, the Sacred Rest with Nature, we do, so the program, we kind of say like this part of the program is related to like maybe emotional rest. This part of the program is related to creative rest. So the program that we did is specifically kind of target. We have all these 7 rest in the program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're educating as you're doing it so people can somehow connect the two. I still don't think people actually connect that they can do that themselves. That once you go to a retreat, you spend 3, 5, 7 days and you're enveloped in like all that's going on. You can, like you said at the beginning, you can bring some of that back into your everyday life until your next retreat, right? You can take either that time in the woods, maybe the forest bathing. You can take maybe a journaling bit. You can implement this into your daily life, which we mentioned at the beginning, but it's like, that's kind of the impetus, is that you get almost a buffet. You get a taste of, like you said, you go through many different types of meditation, or you'll offer different types of meditation. And then on the retreats, you're offering different kinds of rest and you're actually naming them. So you're doing a lot of teaching as well, but it may not just feel like teaching, but you walk away, I would think as a participant, and in my experience, you walk away feeling like you did not only gain something like to do, like to act, but you gained knowledge that you can apply, right? If that makes sense.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, totally. I would definitely. I mean, there's the knowledge part, but then there's also the action, which is the experience. And then that is the most powerful learning, because you have the, mentally, then you have the, logical, this the learning style. So you like your logical mind learn something and then you experience it. And then that is, to me, yeah, the most powerful type of learning.
When I'm listening to you talk, you're mentioning a lot of different modalities, little practices, and different people. So more than what just someone who's studied spas, went to school for maybe that. Where else are you getting your influence? Like, I know you mentioned the book about the sacred rest, but I'm curious, like a little more of your practice. Like, what part are you learning? What's the way that you learn, and what's on your bookshelf right now, or whatever it is that you're consuming?
Besides my background in school is hotel management, so I also study a lot of different kind of wellness modalities, usually for myself to experience first, and then, and learn more. So like flower essences, for example. I don't know, have you heard of flower essences before? So they are great. They work directly with the emotions. And I've used it for myself first, like I said, healing the grief. And then it was like, and then I was inspired. You got to, inspired to learn it as a practitioner. And well, that's why this place holds called Museflower, is really like flower as an inspiration, or anything in nature, really kind of inspiration for us. So yeah, I learned different king flower essences, cacao ceremony, kirtan, which is devote chanting with mantra. So that's my go-to meditation. Is chanting. And I love taking online courses, definitely. I feel like all of us are doing that. I think now actually I'm taking an online course. You think I'm not reading anything, but just online courses on shamanic healing. So I also learn how to do shamanic journeying as well. And I tell people usually see that as a type of meditation as well. Just beginning, just to generalize it. I know you can say it's not, but I just generalizing it, just say shamanic journey to see as a way of like a guided meditation, to experience meditation in a different way also.
Yeah, I think meditation is far vast a category almost than just what people think. It's just sitting with your legs crossed, eyes closed, sweeping thoughts out of your mind or whatever. I think there is as many types of meditation. I mean, they don't even have names. There's probably a million different ways that you could meditate. We just happen to talk of maybe 10 types, but I can tell that you're a lifelong, like, seeker of knowledge and experience, because a lot of the things, flower essence are amazing. I've studied those and implement quite a bit. What's funny is we don't mention it a lot, but I have in a previous episode about our pets. And I actually first came across a flower essence where I really embrace, I think it was wild oat, when my cat was having some anxiety. This is decades ago. And I thought I wanted something really mild, but potent at the same time, like something that I'm not into prescription drugs or big pharma kind of thing. So I really was looking for, what can I do that would just take the edge off of this experience to not be stressful for him. And that's when I really started getting into flower essences. And that homeopathy, there's so many different modalities that are very, very interesting. And I think the key piece that you mentioned is, if you're curious and it sparks your curiosity and you try it, and then it's like you like it so much you're using yourself as a little bit of a guinea pig, it sounds like, before you promoted someone else. But then you want to go and teach it, like, because you want to learn all about it, right? I mean, that's a sign of somebody who really has like a never ending like curiosity about not only just growth, but like betterment, like just wants to know more. I definitely can resonate with that, because I think people think like, oh, now you're on to something else. It's like, well, you know what? At the end of the day, they're all tied together, whether it's energy of chakras or essential oils with flower essences, of course. They're just different ways that you can connect and express wholeness and hopefully happiness and healthiness as well. But they don't always, like we've said a couple times, they don't always click with everyone. And so it's like about continuing to try and continue to put yourself into a situation where there is newness, to get out of that rut, whether it be a retreat or whether it is a spa. Sometimes it's just a spa treatment. I don't say just, I mean, sometimes it can be life altering. I cannot even tell you the amount of times where I've burst into tears during a massage, because the body is the house that you house everything, right? Whether they're emotions that are right on the surface or whether they're really deep down. And when someone puts a healing hand on you or near you, like in Reiki, it really is shifting that potential, stagnation of energy. And even like I've encouraged so many people over the years, try massage. Some people are like, oh, I don't want anybody touching me. I'm like, okay, try this or that or that. There's so many different things you can try, because they think that it's more than just, laying on a sheet and having someone rub your muscles. It's not about that. Like a real spa treatment is life altering. That's why I go and have one done as often as I possibly can.
Yes, I totally agree. Yeah.
You got these retreats, they're set up. You have some revolving ones. You got a couple special ones coming up. You said the cacao sacred cacao.
Yeah.
What was that one about?
It's so that is cacao with Bhakti Yoga. So Bhakti Yoga is the yoga devotion, which is to learn about, like mantras, using mantra for meditation, chanting, and kirtan. But at the same time, I also, I love cacao ceremonies. So it's, I don't have you experienced cacao ceremony before? Have you heard of it
I've
before?
heard of them, but I have not. But I'm open to hearing about them. It sounds very fun. It sounds fun. But
so it is fun actually, because cacao ceremony, we see cacao, of course, like chocolate. We usually see it as a dessert, but in this case, we're going to see it as a medicine, like a type of plant medicine. But it's not a psychedelic, so it's not like other kind of plant medicine.
Yeah.
But what cacao does on the physical level, it has all these antioxidants and vitamins and minerals, feel good chemicals as well, right? And then it does accelerate our blood circulation up to 40%.
Wow.
And so that's what's happened on a physical level. So you can think about on an energetic level, it really helped us to drop down deeper to our heart space. That's how I feel. And just being in the present moment. And so cacao ceremony can be observed in so many different ways. Of course, the cacao ceremony itself is to ingest the cacao. And then to feel into cacao. And then after, you can combine with different kind of modalities. So because you're more into your heart space now. And so you can combine it with kirtan, which is devotional chanting. You can combine it with, doing more creative kind of work, combined with meditation. Usually that's what I do. I combine with like a type of meditation. So sometimes people have kind of deeper experience. Even the meditation, maybe it's just only 10 minutes, but they might have quite an interesting experience or insightful meditation experience as well through that. So that's the power of cacao. I feel like it's just, when you do it, cacao itself is a superfood already anyway.
Yep.
But when you go and take it as ceremony, they use usually ceremonial grade cacao, which the cacao is planted. The intention of the cacao is for ceremonial use. And the cacao ceremony has been used, of course, first by the Mayans, like it's been using in the ancient civilizations for many years in rituals and ceremonies. So now it's kind of being spread globally, which is really beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, it is. Cacao, I do consume it, but not at the level that I'd like to. It is on like right at the top of my list of like, get into this. So it's, again, serendipitous that you would mention it. I'm definitely going to check that out. When's that one again? Is that in October?
So that's October 3rd to 6th. It might be a little bit too close now.
I was just going to
fly
say
over. Maybe hopefully next year. I think cacao ceremonies are also quite probably confined in your local area. I think there's more and more people doing it now. So, which is amazing.
I want to go to Thailand for
Yes, please.
Yeah, that sounds like fun. And then the second one that's a special retreat. What's that one? What's that one detail?
That's the rest one, the sacred rest with nature. So that's we incorporate the 7 different type of rest with my friend Yumin, who does forest bathing. She also, in the retreat we do Shinroku.
Yeah. I was like, I know that one.
And she does yoga nidra as well, which is yoga nidra. So some people think it's a sleeping meditation, but it is really, really good. And so that's kind of like also breaking through like what people think meditation is just sitting. You can totally lie down and fall asleep, and that's a sleeping meditation. So yoga nidra. Even though as you practice more, you're not supposed to fall asleep, stay conscious in the meditation. But yoga nidra, and then we also have cacao ceremony in that retreat. We do other kind of ceremonies like fire ceremonies, just using fire to do kind of more releasing work as well, which is also very powerful for the emotional and psyche level.
We're definitely going to try and put a little bit of a hit list in the show notes with some of these opportunities, but as well as just even maybe book titles and things that people can check out, because there's a lot going on. Museflower Retreat and Spa. There is so much. I think we could go on and on, but we have a big list of resources and even maybe some references to keep in the show notes. I'm so excited that we got to connect today, because I wasn't sure it was going to happen. It's a little bit of a logistical challenge to get the timing right, being 14 hours apart, but it actually worked out beautifully. Tania, thanks so much for sharing a bit of your story and a bit of what you offer, as well as, even though you're just feels like you're offering it in a location, lots of people would be like, oh, I'm not going to Thailand, which sucka, I'm going to go. But all of what you're teaching is universal. Like, people can apply it right in their own homes. They can find a local retreat if Thailand's not in the, immediate future. They can plan a retreat out in the future and make Thailand on that part of the list. Beautiful part of the country. I don't know a single person that's been there and not been completely transformed by the beauty of Thailand in general. But thank you so much for sharing all that you are doing on the planet. And I feel the vibration over here. I'm on a little island, pretty little island on the west of Canada, and I can feel the frequency from there. So you're doing good work. Keep it up. Thank you so much for listening today. If you feel any part of this episode resonated with you, then please consider sharing it with a friend who may also find value in it. And remember to hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. And before you go, did you know we have a fantastic free text community? If you want more bite-sized health hacks and reminders delivered directly to your phone, absolutely free, then text keyword YES to 206-483-2960. Again, that's keyword YES to 206-483-2960. And we'll see you on the inside.